Okay, everybody, if you are sick of hearing about Nvidia, I know I'm sick of talking about Nvidia. Um, you should turn this off because we are going to touch on Nvidia. It's the story everybody's talking about. Big earnings report yesterday. Stock selling off. So of course we're bringing in Sami to let us know what is going on. Sami told me he was trading it after hours yesterday, which seems very unusual for Sami. So Sami, what was it about Nvidia that made you say, "I want to play"?
I try not to trade the post market for a couple of reasons. First, I'm already trading 6.5 hours in the day. I don't want to trade another 4 hours in the post market. Then my whole life becomes about trading because I still have to do my scanning and my prep and my work. So I try not to trade the post market. But Nvidia, the reason why I knew what it was doing in the post market is because it moved the market. So I could tell Nvidia, was gapping down, and so I looked into it, and so what it did initially is it took a really big dive, and then it went climactic, and then had a big move up to exactly 123, and then it came back down. And so what I noticed about Nvidia, I made like $11,000 trading Nvidia in the post market, just so you know. What was interesting about Nvidia is that if you pull up the level 2, the depth of market window, you will see that at any given time, I'm pulling it up as we speak, you'll see that at any given time on Nvidia, there's only like a few hundred shares on the bid and the ask. But it's Nvidia, it's got thousands of shares at any given time. So what is driving the price of the stock, or what we see on the level 2, it's all just algos. So we can't really tell whether there's a lot of supply or demand at any given time. The only way we could is by looking at the chart, and if the charts look good and they line up, the multiple time frames line up, then you could say, well, it looks lower, it looks higher. But I can never look at the Nvidia level 2 window and be able to tell whether it's lower or higher based on the level 2, because it's all just algos, all HFT systems. But in the post market yesterday, that wasn't the case at all. It still traded with a little bit of spread, like it normally does. In fact, wider maybe spread, like 10 cents, maybe up to 15, but absolutely no back and forth on the level 2. If you look at it right now, it's always dancing up and down, up and down, up and down on level 2. And I don't know, I don't think I can show the level 2 on Sterling, because I have whatever. You can look at it on your own level 2. But in the post market, it was absolutely steady, and you could see which way it was going, whether it was lower or higher. So I ended up trading Nvidia. I ended up, I like to have 3 meals a day. I had my first meal at like 5 p.m. my time or something like this. That was my breakfast, because I just literally didn't leave my desk until 5 p.m. in the afternoon, which is 8 p.m. New York time. So it was a crazy day, but at least, made good money on it. So that was the story of Nvidia. I actually haven't told all of that to Mike. I told all of this to James because he does, that looks level 2, scalps level 2 like I do. So I told all of that to James, but I haven't. It's the first time Mike is hearing this too.
Yeah, Sami, we would have had you streaming all 9 hours yesterday if we'd known it was going to be a marathon. We would have put a GoPro on you so people could just watch the show all day long. So interesting you brought up the level 2. So you still find value in level 2, because I've heard traders say it's not as good, it's not as useful as it used to be, but you still find value in level 2?
For sure. So during the COVID, 2 years of COVID, you could read the level 2 and trade almost exclusively off the level 2 without having to look at the chart, without having to look at the chart and be able to tell whether the stock was bullish or bearish. You could just trade the imbalance on the level 2. If you look me up on YouTube and just type Sami Abu Saad level 2 trading, you'll see a bunch of videos explaining exactly how to trade off the level 2, how I do it. So during COVID, and after every market crash that I've been a part of, every single market crash, the level 2, for 6 months, usually for about 6 months after the crash, you can just make a really good living trading off the level 2, because the algos stop working during crash, so they turn them off. So now it becomes easy to read the level 2 and be able to tell be able to gauge the supply demand imbalance, whether there's a lot more bids or offers, and trade just exclusively off the level 2. We don't have a market crash right now, so we don't have a, in general, it's not an easy strategy to make a living off of trading level 2. But every now and then, every day we have a stock that's gapping down a lot, and if it is a low price, high volume stock, then a lot of times you could still trade off of the level 2, just that stock, and just only when it's like when there is that imbalance on the level 2. So it's not, you can't trade it the whole day off the level 2. You can't trade every stock off the level 2. But again, we try and find these high volume, low price stocks every day in the room and trade them on level 2. Sometimes it doesn't work. I actually tried to do the AILE today, the AILE, which is again high volume, low price stock off level 2. That didn't work at all. So it doesn't always work out, but most days it does. And it's one of my favorite things to do. I've been doing level 2 trading before anybody's heard of level 2 trading, like since 2010 probably is when I got started doing it. And for sure 2011 for sure, but since probably 2010. So that's a long time trading that same strategy. Again, it's always best after a market crash. My guess is that because they turn off the level 2s, so now you don't get that constant up and down on level 2. It's steady. But we can't always be expecting a crash. So every few years we get a crash, and then level 2 trading becomes the main, my main bread and butter strategy.
Okay, Sami. So back to Nvidia. I mean, on a swing basis, do you have any opinion on it here?
Yeah. So Nvidia, I think, looks okay still long term. I'm showing the chart. Great. So here's Nvidia. So that's not Nvidia. Here's Nvidia. And if we look at the daily, here's the daily. Still, this was a very bullish move up, right? Still above the 20. Probably going to base for a while and then eventually higher. Mark my word, eventually higher. But at the moment, it's more neutral than anything, I believe. It got rejected a couple times, like it tried to go higher a couple times, got rejected. This was the third time that it basically was looking higher and got rejected. But when all said and done, Nvidia is very, very bullish. It's just, at the moment, it's having it's experiencing some kind of a, stalling or pulling back a little bit. But when all said and done, that's the weekly time frame. Eventually, I'm pretty sure Nvidia will be higher. Eventually.
Okay. Why don't we talk about SMCI? So SMCI went in the dumpster yesterday. They delayed their 10K. There's been sort of controversy swirling around that stock. So, Sami, could you break down SMCI? I mean, was it considered climactic, yesterday's move?
Yeah, so if we look at the SMCI, funny you bring this up because I talked about it in the room today. If we look at the monthly chart of SMCI, this is the monthly chart of SMCI. I mean, this is as parabolic as it gets, right? It goes from $200-300 to $1,200, or maybe even more, $1,300 almost. No, $1,229. And then, so that's parabolic move. And then it falls off of a cliff into the 20 on the monthly chart. Also a bit parabolic. Let's take a look at the weekly chart real quick on the SMCI. The weekly, is this the weekly? That's the daily. Here's the weekly. The weekly says there's more room, more to come, like maybe down to here, maybe even to the 200. But there's the support mostly on the weekly chart is around 300 or so on the weekly. The daily is also, that's probably not a parabolic move on the SMCI. The monthly is the only time frame that looks good, but I think the SMCI will probably take a while before it bottoms. I don't think this is quite the bottom, and if it is, it certainly, I don't think is going to go right back up. It probably will go sideways, waits for the 20 MA to catch up, and then starts to point up, So I don't think the SMCI is actually headed back up anytime soon. That's my take based on the weekly and the daily. The monthly is lovely, but that's why we look at multiple time frames, so that we can see the stock from different angles and be able to tell better whether it's bottomed or not, whether what we think is, what we think the monthly chart is doing, we can zoom in, drill down to the weekly and the daily, and be able to look at the detail and see whether it's higher or lower, right? So that's what I think about the SMCI, Mike. I'm working on the earnings list, by the way, to see what's reporting for tonight. But let's keep the live stream going.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Here we go again. See, Sami. I believe Sami is secretly an octopus because he's always doing he's so good on these live streams, and he's doing, I don't know what he's doing. He's like trading with one hand. He's cooking with the other hand. So I've known Sami for a long time. I have no idea what's going on in that room. Okay. All right, Sami. So I want to talk about, there's sort of two stealth bull markets that are not getting a lot of attention. The first one is gold. So I was wondering if you could break down GLD for us, because it's just sort of crawling up and feels like not too many people are talking about it.
It's a beauty. I mean, it's as beautiful as it gets, because GLD is, gaps every night, right? Every day almost. It's not a pretty picture, but I mean, this is really beautiful. It's just super, super bullish. They don't come much more bullish than that. We'll talk about Nvidia. Sure, it has more momentum usually than GLD, but this is a beauty. It looks much, much higher. So yeah, I love the GLD for sure. Like it a lot. And what's the other bull market that's sneaking up on us?
The banks. So XLF. It's just, we talked about we've been talking about the real estate stocks for a while, and I just noticed yesterday, or the other day, JP Morgan at all-time highs, and then I looked at XLF and I'm like, why is nobody talking about the banks?
Because they're boring, but incredible. You're right. I wasn't aware that they're this bullish. I did see a headline today that what is it? Berkshire Hathaway, so Berk.A, I guess. Oh, Berk.B, or what's the ticker?
I think it's just BRKA on TC2000.
Oh, okay, BRKA, 700,000. That it is basically, it just became $1 trillion company for the first time ever. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The banks, nobody's talking about them because they're just not sexy, right? And are killing it. They're really bullish, and they don't look like they're looking, that they're going to come in. They look higher still. Yeah, I like the banks. Gold is a little bit more special, but the banks are really bullish as well. Absolutely. Good point. Good heads up, because I wasn't aware of the banks. Aware of gold, of course, but not the banks. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Okay, now we'll flip to the other side. Let's talk about something hideous. So MSOS, they had another disappointment. It's every few months there's some story about this is being rescheduled, or safe banking, or blah, 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 whatever it is. And it's, it's like Wile E. Coyote with the Roadrunner every single time. So what do you think of this? This is very ugly, but what do you think of this whole mess, Sami?
I think the MSOS tried to bounce off on the monthly, and completely failed. So MSOS, I don't see any hope for it to go back up. I'm for some reason I'm not okay. There it is. It just switched to the monthly. So again, on the monthly, it tried to bottom, looked pretty good for a few months, and it got rejected, and now it looks lower. It has room to actually drop still, but not a ton of room, like to $5 basically. So that's not a lot of room on the MSOS, but I don't believe it is higher. I don't believe it's going back up. Unfortunately, if you're in it, I'm not. But if you are, it does not look good at all.
Okay, one final question from our friend. Our friend It's in the chat is asking about Sweetgreen, ticker SG, maker of wonderful salads.
Yeah, so the SG, we played it as an earnings play that day. We actually played it on the last quarter also, but I didn't hold it after the earnings report. I'm sorry, I'm talking about not this one, this one. We played it as an earnings play, didn't hold it, and it shot up like crazy. This one, I don't remember if I did it or not, but I know because this is recent. I know I also did it as an earnings play that day. Worked out really well. And the stock still looks good. I think it looks good. It's a little bit, it's up a lot in a short amount of time. Pretty sloppy on the larger time frames, but is very, very bullish. Absolutely bullish. So if I was in it still, I would hold. Looks good to me to hold.
Excellent. So that is going to wrap us up, Sami. I believe that was record time, but we got through Nvidia, SMCI, gold, banks,
Well,
MSOS,
let me look
Sweetgreen.
at let me look at the earnings and tell you what I think. See if there's anything interesting. So Dell looks interesting long. Dell looks okay long, actually. But Dell is damaged on the weekly and the monthly, so I don't think it's going to be, it's going to move that much, but that looks good higher. And Marvel has been very, very bullish. So that looks higher also. But the problem with the Marvel is that it's like at a lot of resistance on the weekly. So far, I like Dell and I like Marvel. So Lulu's also reporting. Lulu, don't know. Probably higher on Lulu. And I like that we did the SSYS as an earnings play short yesterday. Guess what? What I just came across. DDD, triple D reporting. That looks lower. What I don't like about the 3D is that why did it gap up? It's another 3D system. 3D printing stock. Why did it gap up when the SSYS gapped down? So that's the only thing that bothers me. But from a chart point of view, 3D looks pretty good as an earnings play short. So we got Dell as a long, Marvel maybe as a long, and then 3D as a short. I'm still scanning. The Altas is reporting, but it's very hard because the daily looks pretty good as a long. But if you look at the weekly, it's right into the declining 20. So Alta's probably too difficult. We have MDB reporting. I think the MDB is probably higher. If I had to guess, that's a nice daily buy setup. I think MDB is higher, but it's tough. So Dell, I'm probably going to play. Marvel likely will play. And then 3D likely will play. There's also and then the MDB, will have to look at it closer to the end of the day to see. There's also the Domo reporting. Not sure because the daily and the weekly look higher. The monthly is kind of tough on the Domo. And then the last one on my list is okay, that's too thin anyway. So yeah, those are the earnings that I'm eyeing. The Dell, possibly long, Marvel, MDB, and then the 3D as a short. JKS is also weak, very, very weak, but the China stocks I'm afraid to short. I got a couple of them long, but the 3D is also very, very weak. But mostly I like the JKS is very weak, but I mostly like the 3D short for earnings tonight. All right, Mike?
You know what? One more since we're here. Alibaba. How about Baba? This is I've been beaten up by this stock myself. So what do you think of Baba here?
I have 1,000 shares in it, and I had 1,500 actually at some point. I have 1,000 shares, so it's one of the nicer, bigger trades for me. It's a daily buy setup. It looks amazing. The problem with Baba is that as soon as it starts to get going, you think this is it, and then it comes crashing down, just like most China stocks. So Baba is been a difficult hold. On this day, I lost $3,500 on it, I believe. And so it's been killing me. We have it in the newsletter as an open position. Do we? I mean, I have it in my account. And we have it in the newsletter also. And I like it. It's trying to transition, looks really good. But that's the thing with the China. And I also have the yen. But that's the thing with the China stocks is they go up and then they come crashing down. So they've been difficult. They've been difficult. Bitcoin is my biggest position by far, and it's been for the last 6 months. Similar concept. It goes up, 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 and you think this is it. This should be the bottom, and then comes crashing down again. And it's not. It doesn't trade in in nice, logical, rational patterns or ways. It's just all over the place. So I like the Baba a lot. But again, keep in mind it's an ADR that gaps all the time. So it's not really, if you want to, it's not really for the faint of heart, I think, when it comes to the Baba. That's
Yeah,
my take.
interesting. Like the way you described them, I would even throw IWM in that category because it always looks like this is it, baby. It's time for the comeback, and then you get slapped in the face like every time.
I've stopped believing in. I have it in my 401k, but I stopped looking at it or consulting the charts when it comes to the IWM, because every time it looks really good, it ends up being a false breakout. So it's been rough for sure.
Yeah, interesting. So so you gave up on IWM. JR gave up on IWM a while ago. He told me I need to stop asking him about it because it's just like the endless disappointer. Okay, Sami. So I know I can tell by the look in Sami's eyes, he's itching to get back and trade more. So guys, thank you for joining us. If you want to have an amazing rest of your day, go to t3live.com/SA to download Sami's ebook for free. t3live.com/SA. The link is also down in the description. Download it today, and I guarantee you good things will happen to you. So Sami, as always, a pleasure.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody. Take care.